Rocky Marciano. The first thing people say about Rocky is that he was a beast in the ring. He didn't have the typical boxing physique, but he could take a punch just as much as he could throw one. He was quick on his feet, he was smart and hungry for success. He was a winner in every fight, and he never left the ring defeated throughout his fighting career. Rocky was an all-time favorite son in his neighborhood in Brockton, and was often called the Brockton Blockbuster. The Italians were proud of him and would often place bets on him winning a fight. Rocky never lost those fights, and some of his fans even paid their mortgages with their winnings. Born Rocco Marciano on the 1st of September 1923, Rocky grew up in the poor, immigrant-filled city of Brockton, Massachusetts. His parents were Italian immigrants whose jobs were barely paying enough to keep the house running. Growing up in a largely multi-ethnic and racially profiled society meant you had to toughen up for your family. This got him into a number of neighborhood altercations that often resulted in a fistfight. And Rocky was always ready to use his fists. Perhaps he was destined to fight. He just didn't know it at the time. He had an interest in sports, playing for his school's football and baseball teams, but his thick legs and oversized body made him a slow runner, and he was often relegated to the benches. Rocky had no interest in school, and he eventually dropped out at the age of 16. Even though he hated the oppressive factory jobs that his parents had to do, he also found himself in the hopeless cycle, working as a digger, railroad layer, shoemaker, and even as a coal carrier on delivery trucks. He worked this job while nursing in his heart an ambition to break the loop and free his family from poverty. At the age of 20, Rocky Marciano was drafted into the U.S. Army during the Second World War. He was sent overseas to help with handling European supplies. But this was in 1943 when the war on the European front was about to end. 8 months later, Rocky was flown back to the United States and assigned to Fort Lewis to await discharge. The wait was long and boring, and Rocky needed to get out of kitchen duty, so he volunteered to represent his unit in a series of amateur fights. Even though he had little knowledge of boxing techniques, Rocky won the 1946 Amateur Armed Forces Boxing Championships. His win made him start considering a career in boxing, and once he got his 1-month vacation, he went back home bragging about his talent. Soon a fight was arranged between him and a former Golden Gloves champion named Henry Lester. Rocky was confident about an easy win, but this was different from the amateur fights back in the Army. His opponent, Lester, was a more experienced boxer, and by the 3rd round, Rocky found himself completely exhausted. He was overweight and had an excessive smoking and drinking habit that greatly affected his balance and punches. Seeing that he was about to lose, Rocky resorted to a street fight, breaking boxing rules and kicking Lester in the groin. This, of course, got him disqualified from the fight, but it also gave him a new resolve: to quit drinking and smoking and to live a healthier lifestyle, a promise he kept till the end of his career. After he was discharged from the Army, Rocky went back to Brockton and started taking formal boxing lessons with the help of his childhood friend, Ali Colombo. He was 5 feet 11 inches tall and weighed about 187 pounds, a below-average size for boxers. He had short, penguin arms and a small stature that he was often towered over by his opponents. Rocky was greatly disadvantaged by his undersized physique, but he never gave up. He was determined to make a name for himself and break out of the poverty cycle in Brockton. He started running at least 5 miles every single day, and when he had fights, he would run up to 15 miles a day for the whole week leading up to the fight. In addition, he would shadow box in neck-deep waters for hours until his coach would ask him to stop. He had a punching bag specially made for him. The bag weighed 300 pounds, 4 times the size of a normal training bag, and Rocky would practice taking out his bigger opponents with it. His rigorous workouts, coupled with his raw hunger to escape poverty, ultimately enhanced his career as a boxer. What he lacked in size, he made up for in punches by throwing his entire body weight into his punches. He used his short arms to his advantage, throwing short, fast punches that delivered more force than longer swings. In March of 1947, Rocky finally stepped into the ring as a professional boxer, knocking his opponent Lee Epperson out in the 3rd round. Rocky went on to win his first 9 fights by knocking out his opponents before the first round was even over. He was an aggressive fighter and had crazy stamina. chasing his opponents around the ring until they got weary and then unleashing his blows. His fighting career was golden, fighting opponents that were twice his size, including former heavyweight champions. When asked about his determination to always win, he would say, "Even after I was knocked down or badly cut and was losing a fight, the one thing that I thought about most was the hardship my father and mother faced throughout their lives." In April 1956, Rocky made an important announcement. He had successfully run a professional boxing career for over 8 years without losing a single fight, and was now retiring at the age of 32 as the only heavyweight champion to retire undefeated. He went on to win several other awards and notable recognitions from international boxing councils. Sadly, Rocky died in an airplane crash on the 31st of August, 1969, just a day before his 46th birthday. It was a sad loss for boxing fans around the world, especially his supporters from the Italian-American community in Brockton. He died a legend, having invented unusual boxing techniques that recent boxers have now adopted. A few years later, a bronze statue of Rocky Marciano was commissioned in his hometown of Brockton, Massachusetts, as a gift to the city by the World Boxing Council.